Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast.
Will the Straw Hat survive Thriller Bark? We're going to be asking these questions and a lot more on today's episode of Systematic Geekology. We are the Priest of the Geeks as we continue on through our coverage of One Piece arc by arc. We're now, as I said, in a Thriller Bark arc, but I say we because it's not just me, Christian Ashely. I am, of course, joined by the co-leader of the revolution against Joshua Knoll, Elizabeth Pangalang and Clyde. How's it going, Pang?
Hello, it's going pretty well. Can't complain. A little tired, but it's fine.
Okay, perfect. Well, Pang, what have you been geeking out on recently?
Oh man, so my jean jacket just came with, and it's one of those, it's called Swapwear, and I got a Yu-Gi-Oh patch for it, and so of course, I think I said this last time, but it's taken a while to go through it. I'm on like the last season of the original Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And I just ordered Millennium Puzzle earrings to match my jean jacket, so we're geeking out internally and externally at this point.
Perfect. Well, I've been geeking out recently on something I know you would love.
Ooh.
And if you have not watched it yet, I would be totally surprised. And it's current to this anime season going on right now, and that's Blue Box. Have you watched any of it so far?
Yes.
Oh, of course. I love that series. I'm caught up to the manga. It's a very fun romance series. A little bit of sports thrown in there too, but mostly featured on our characters. Yeah, you big on it?
I've watched it, but it was I like binged it, so I wasn't like super like into it, but I have watched it. I have to remind myself exactly what it's about as I'm Googling it right now.
That's fair. All right, so moving on to our proper discussion. Oh, by the way, if you guys want to hear more of our One Piece episodes, please go ahead and check out. There'll probably be a playlist down below of everyone that we've done, or maybe some of the anime episodes that we've done, if you're curious about those stuff as well. But as mentioned previously, we are going to be in today the Thriller Bark arc of One Piece. It's about 40-some chapters, thereabout of episodes of the anime. Pang, would you like to help me go over these events from beginning to end?
I can help you. I remember not enjoying this arc.
Yeah?
Yeah, I remember I just felt like it was so long and I was ready to be done with it. So this is going to be fun.
I hate to hear what you have to say about Dressrosa if this was the long arc for you.
I like the Dressrosa, but I'm not. But once again, we've talked about that. This is why I'm not on the Halloween drive-in. I don't really care for Halloween, and this would be the appropriate Halloween arc, if you will.
Yes. So we start off after they're leaving Water 7. They end up in this area after they've made a little more of the ship more their own. They enter the Florian Triangle, which is basically their Bermuda Triangle. It's where a bunch of weird things go on. And as they're doing it, they happen to hear this weird guy, this weird skeleton, singing a song. Pang, take it from there. What do you remember?
Yo ho ho, yo ho ho ho, yo ho ho, yo ho ho ho. There you go, guys. Is that what you wanted, Christian?
Yeah, sure. That works. and who is this fine young man, or fine old man, as it were?
It's the Soul King, Brooks.
Yes.
Can he see your panties?
is one of the first questions he asks.
Yes.
For Nami, who of course says no, as any rational woman would in this scenario. So Brook, for those who don't know, is a tall skeleton man with a giant black afro who has survived thanks to his devil fruit. We'll get to that later on. And immediately when Luffy kind of learns that he's a musician, like he asks him to join the crew.
As he
And
should.
Brook disagrees. As opposed to everyone else, Brook has no moment of, oh, we got to go through an entire arc before I say yes to you. Like, nope, I'm in it to win it, which surprises everyone, of course. Yes.
Because he needed just human contact. We also learn his backstory, which was very sad. So do you want to go into his backstory now, or are we waiting or?
Yeah, we can do that.
So pretty much he ate the soul fruit. Is that what was called? He ate some kind of fruit. Like, I can't remember the actual name.
Yeah. I think that's it.
So he was actually with the crew with
revive.
Okay, I think when I watched it in the Japanese, it was translated soul in my translation, but it's fine. But anyway, so he was with the his crew, which was actually the one that first made the promise to the world that we're going back, if you remember a past episode. But whenever you get lost in the triangle, it's like a homage to the Bermuda Triangle, and the crew gets lost to the point of no return. And because Brooks ate the revive fruit, everyone else died, and he is literally just a skeleton floating and watched all of his crewmen died. Like,
it's
that
extremely tragic.
That is so sad, but I think that is worse than death, if you ask me. That is literally a situation that is worse than death.
Yeah, 50 straight years of having your shadow stolen from you and being unable to go anywhere. You're kind of stuck here because the further it goes, if you lose your shadow and you're hit by direct sunlight, then you just die.
Something like that.
So he's got to stay there and try and gain up the courage to get his shadow back, knowing that he's facing someone he can never beat. So, Thousand Sunny comes along, joins up with them, and then suddenly a ghost appears, and as they get closer to Thriller Bark proper, the Thousand Sunny is captured. He tries to get them to run away, and he actually runs across the water onto dry land. And Luffy, of course, decides he's just going to go explore, and the group kind of splits up into their different groups. We kind of have our coward group of Nami, Usopp, and Chopper end up finding Cerberus, and come to find out, there's a guy named Hog back there, Dr. Hogback, who is someone Chopper knows about and is someone who has studied different forms of medicine. And he's very curious to learn about him until he learns that he's kind of sort of also behind why the shadow thing is happening, why the zombies are around on the island. Everyone gets into a bunch of misadventures there. And the group gets attacked by zombies. Yeah. Then we have, Well, that's when...
Doesn't like a couple of them, like their souls get transferred into zombies, so they're not only attacked by a zombie, but right, like they kind of
their shadows.
The shadows,
kind of get taken. So that provides like, hey, but we can't leave this island until we take care of that. And Robin realizes that this is the area under control of a guy named Gecko Moria, who is a warlord of the sea with a bounty higher than Luffy's. And I think it's Chopper and Luffy kind of get into an argument for a bit on, Luffy already beat Crocodile and said, well, you almost died too, so I don't think you can beat this guy. And they end up encountering this guy, Absalom. I can't stand this character. I hate him so much.
He's pretty awful. Yeah,
he's a very loathsome character, does some very unpleasant things to Robin and plans on doing some more unpleasant things to Nami. Then through different misadventures, the group finds these different zombie generals they have to fight. They encounter this woman named Lola, who... That
was the ghosty one, right? With the pink hair and the pigtails?
No, that's Perona. Lola we'll find out, Big Mom's kid.
Oh, yeah.
Who's just trying to find herself a man, and unfortunately it's fallen for Absalom. And throughout all this, they realize that Moria is behind all this, and Luffy's shadow gets stolen. Why, Pang?
Tough stuff. Why what? Why did his shadow get stolen?
So it can be brought into the giant known as Oars. who is kind of like under the control of Moria, and now Luffy's shadow is inside of it and empowering it even further, and he uses it to attack the crew in multiple ways there. As it's kind of revealed that, Brook was defeated by a swordsman there, and he wasn't able to get his shadow. What am I forgetting? Oh, Robin and Chopper end up fighting Hogback, and the whole crew then fights Oars.
I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Well, that's the point when Nami gets kidnapped.
When he tries to make her the wife.
Yeah.
He wants to. But I think the manga is more explicit in the assault than the anime was, because the manga is pretty
definitely.
Yeah, explicit.
Yeah, the TV broadcasts, especially towards children, aren't able to get away with as much, which is I'm fine with.
I appreciate that for my little mind.
Yeah. So we're also introduced, well, not really introduced, we're introduced properly to a guy named Bartholomew Kumo, who kind of messes with Moria for a bit, saying that he doesn't really need his help to fight the Straw Hats. He can kind of get it on his own. But then they're actually able to then fight out against Oars, take him down for a bit until Moria steps into the fight, growing a bit larger. And eventually they're able to take him down until they fight against Kuma, almost like everyone's been taken down except for Zoro, who kind of has that scene of hey, don't kill Luffy, because Kuma's kind of on a mission to get rid of him, and he'll take on him instead. Sanji tries to take it up too at one point in time, but Zoro knocks him out. And then Zoro makes an offer with him, like, hey, I'll trade my life for Luffy's. Kuma agrees and uses his devil fruit to take Luffy's pain and gives it to Zoro instead, and then he leaves, kind of noting, weirdly, that Dragon has raised a good son with a fine crew. That's when they all wake up, they realize what happened there, and then they're on to the next mission. Alola gives, I think, Nami her Viver card, and they notice that Aces is kind of on fire.
I hate that foreshadow. Friggin'
and that's a brief account of events. There's more we could go into depth on in that regard. But Pang, do you have a favorite moment from this arc, and why is it your favorite?
Okay, so it's not really a favorite moment, but I remember watching this, and it depends. It just stuck with me, and I'm pretty sure it's the Japanese version of it, but the laugh has stuck with me, and the shoo laugh, and I don't know why. High School Liz, I would literally just mimic that laugh all the time. And it's been a deep core memory in my soul. And so when I think Thriller Bark, I think of his laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But I liked the little pink ghosty, the Fury. What was her name?
Perona.
Why am I struggling? What was that? I really liked Perona. I think she's
there you go.
She's kind of cutesy in the grim world, but it was just no color really in this arc, which makes sense. They're in a Halloween-esque zombie fest filled land, but super important because we need the doctor for future discoveries. So
okay.
We need it, but definitely my least favorite arc.
I understand. This one's not the most divisive arc in a series, but there's some would be it drags on a little too long, or they weren't behind some of the concepts of the characters and stuff like that. And I get it. It's not my favorite, but it's not anywhere near the bottom.
Really? I'm curious to know what the bottom is for you then.
I'd have to look at them all and list them out. I haven't thought that far in depth.
This is the one I think I can confidently say this is my bottom arc.
Okay. That's fair. So my favorite scene is weird. It's not really a fighting scene. It's more of a verbal sparring between Kuma and Moria, where he's told him, hey, since Crocodile lost, we now have Blackbeard become the new successor to his former position. And Moria doesn't care until Kuma starts messing with him, and then tries to tell him, hey, we can't, the government doesn't want another warlord being defeated by the Straw Hats. So that kind of messes with him. And I like this scene more now than I did when I first saw this, because of more recent revelations we've had in the manga regarding Kuma. How far up are you caught, by the way?
I mean, I'm in Egghead Island.
Okay. So what was the latest episode you watched?
I can't
So I
tell
can try
you.
and
No,
know if
if you
that's fair.
spoil it, it's fine. I don't mind spoilers because
So
it's my
you've
fault.
not seen Kuma's backstory.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that should
Maybe.
be coming up fairly soon.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a couple episodes behind with the dubs.
Oh, that's right. Because they release like 25 or 30 at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't have
Yeah.
time to watch Japanese version right now.
Well, I'm not watching the anime. I'm just caught up with the manga because I can't
makes
stand 5
sense.
minutes of nothing, only to have maybe 15 minutes of actual episode.
Gotcha.
So there's that.
If you'd like to support our show on Captivate, feel free to go to captivate.fm and find our show, subscribe. You'll get access to any future online D&D campaigns over there. You'll get an extra bonus question for 4 to 8 times a month. You'll get extra content like that through there. You also get a one-time donation you could make to help support the show right on Captivate. So you don't get anything for the one-time donation, but if you would like to just support the show once, do a quick donation, you can do that through captivate.fm. Our overhead includes editing software, marketing, equipment, recording software, and a whole lot of other stuff. And we really appreciate everybody who can help keep the lights on.
So in light of who Kuma is, we actually learned that along the way. The manipulations he's performing here, and especially how he treats Zoro and his mention of Dragon, make this a lot better too, in my opinion, retroactively. In the moment, I'd still rate this pretty low. Yeah, it's more than a 5, but there's something that enhances this in his character here and how he acts and how it reacts to all the situation that we learn about later on that I really enjoy. And it's how he messes with people. So I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So who, out of all these characters we have assembled here in these 40-some chapters, stood out the most to you in this arc?
I mean, I would say it has to be Brooks because you added a whole bony member, and like he's such a fun character. Once I can't imagine One Piece without Brooks, so he has to be my favorite. All of the bone jokes he makes is the best. He's like, I would see it if I had eyes. It's just like so dry and stupid.
Yeah. He's definitely a welcome addition to the crew. We've got a very zany crew to begin with, but he fits right in from the moment he appears. Like the fact that he says yes to Luffy at the very beginning, it's just like, oh, okay, this guy's fun. Yeah, there's definitely something about him we need to learn more about before I trust him. But yeah, he's fine. He's fun. And you got the whole, other than I can't stand asking every woman he meets,
Can I see your panties? I mean, he's very polite when asking.
Okay, Pang. That's what you want?
At least he has permission.
Next Sunday at church, you have a visitor come in first time.
I'll politely say, no, you weirdo. I didn't say Brook wasn't a weirdo. I think it's really funny.
Wow. Yeah, I'm worried about you.
Probably. You should be, honestly.
Oh, poor Taylor.
What's the opposite of a feminist? I think that's me.
You're a misogynist?
I just want to cook my husband dinner and rub his feet, I guess. I'm just kidding.
That's not misogynist.
I don't know. But that's what made me think of it. Anyway, off topic. Don't really feel that way. Yeah. I just have a healthy disconnect of what's funny in an anime versus real life.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree Brook is well portrayed here. Other than that, he joins the crew pretty effectively, shows off his techniques really well. You get the whole backstory that he has with connections to Laboon way back when, which I feel really bad for anyone who watched the 4Kids dub because they removed that section from the episode. So if you went on to the Funimation dub, you'd have no idea what they were talking about.
Didn't know that.
As it was airing. Unless you went, I think they redubbed those episodes. I'd have to look it up. But my answer is actually going to be Zoro for this part. And Zoro is not a character that I normally gravitate towards. I don't hate him by any stretch of the imagination. But he's never going to be on my top 10 One Piece characters. But what really rose my love for him here is that whole scenario of Luffy being under threat and him being willing to take on his pain and being willing to die on his behalf, because that's what he's supposed to do for his captain.
That's a first mate, if I ever did see one.
And it also raised my opinion of Sanji, too, because he asked the same thing, but Zoro knew Sanji wouldn't be able to take it like him, so he knocked him out. And this is after Zoro has already suffered. Every arc, Zoro loses more blood than any human being should be capable of.
Yep.
I think this arc alone is like twice that, but he's already taken all that already, and then he takes Luffy's pain on it not knowing that's what's going to happen, in addition to that, really raised my opinion of him a lot. So I appreciate that immensely.
I do like it. I'm trying to think. I don't think I always like it when Usopp shine. Yeah, I'm really struggling with my words. When Usopp shines, but I don't think he shined this arc. I think he was kind of more in the background.
As a gag way he does in his interactions with Perona, we'll get into in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something there. But yeah, he's not a main focus for this arc.
And then Chopper's always just Chopper.
I did like, him, like that poor naive little Chopper. Scientists, doctors are supposed to be researching things for the good of the people. And then you get the Hogback, who is pretty much the Dr. Frankenstein of this scenario and is abusing science for all these heinous ends. And Chopper having to wrestle with that. So to not kill his naivete, but like make him grow a little bit and realizing that other people are capable of stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about our main villain for this arc, and that being Gecko Moria himself. Like, how effective does he strike himself as a villain, in your opinion?
He looks like a wannabe boogeyman. So, in my opinion, he doesn't look very scary. He looks like he got kicked out of the club. But I mean, he's a warlord, right?
Yes.
So I just don't get it. He just seems like he got lucky and accidentally became a warlord. He's not very bright.
Yeah.
So.
Well, a major reason for why he's as effective as he is, because I agree, he's kind of goofy until you get into his devil fruit. That's the shadow fruit. Yeah, shadow fruit, where he's able to manipulate people's shadows and then have them inhabit other vessels and make them obedient like zombie slaves to him. That raises him up a bit, so he does become a threat, but
in a cowardly way,
Yes. He's not the only reason he's strong is because of how he's able to manipulate others.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes for a fine villain of this arc, but I'm glad, he didn't remain as big a thorn in their side. Like, he still made appearances along the way later on.
Mm-hmm.
But this is his arc to shine, and that's all I need from him.
Didn't one of them get, put into a teddy bear or something? Which one got put into the teddy bear? The shadow?
Gosh, what was that?
Google it.
All right. I'm looking it up right now.
Yay. I don't know why. I don't know. I thought it was one of the crew members that got into a teddy bear.
Kumashi, the stuffed bear zombie. I'm not seeing. Oh, yeah. They all hid inside of him at one point in time. Usopp, Nami, and Chopper.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking. I remember the bear.
I don't remember Shadow being put in there. Maybe I've forgotten. One Piece, 1,000+ chapters.
So many.
Everything. Yeah. I'm lucky I remember characters' names, and I don't remember character names other than main people. So I have to look them up before we do things like this.
True.
Yeah, I don't quite have an eidetic memory when it comes to One Piece, like some people seem to have.
I do not either. You remember more than me.
Well, yeah, I guess. So we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but we're introduced to our new crew member, Brook here. Other than what we've said so far, what do you like about him? How was his introduction for you? What are your feelings on him?
I mean, I just get excited because Luffy wanted a cook and a musician, and that was his top two. So just knowing that Luffy's getting his little dream come true makes me happy. And it's just, it's so happy. Just him. And it's mainly the future thing, just him singing. And there's a really great at the end of this arc, Brook sings them away as they sail off, and it's just fun.
Yes. Yeah, he's very fun. I like Brook better than some members of the Straw Hat crew, minus what we mentioned earlier, especially as he grows to this series and utilizes different ways of using his devil fruit that he never would have done if he didn't have his Nakama. This group of people that inspired him to do more, but those are in different arcs. But in this arc here, we kind of see he's a little bit of a coward, some of which within reason, because he's facing off against a swordsman who's just that much better than him.
Mm-hmm.
But when push comes to shove, he's able to stand up for himself a bit and prove that, he may have said he'd be a member of the crew within 5 seconds of meeting them, but at the end of the day, he's worth being a member of the crew, just like everyone has proven at this point in time they belong on the Thousand Sunny.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Like we'll learn more of his like ultimate moves and stuff down, but later. But like it's just whenever he does like makes everything freeze and whatnot. That's like one of my favorite moves. He's like,
Yes.
and then he makes a joke about how he doesn't have skin, so he can't feel the cold. It's just I don't know why. I just love cheesy, and I would say Brook is one of the cheesiest characters.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, there are very few series that a character like him would actually work in. I mean, you don't want someone like him in Attack on Titan or, Legend of the Galactic Heroes or what have you. You want him in a series like this where the goofiness has already been like established early on, but also the seriousness that comes alongside that goofiness. And that there's a very tragic character inside that goofy looking skeleton with an afro.
Dude, he watched all his friends die.
Yeah.
Like a slow, painful death. It wasn't like they got slaughtered. They literally starved to death.
Yeah. And in the lesser series, like you could have someone like that and be written poorly. But I think what Oda does well with him is he starts off with the goofball, but then as we get a little more into who he is, we go, okay, there's more to him than just what we saw at the very beginning. And I think Oda does a really good job with that.
Well, just imagine you don't think about it. Like he literally had to feel his body decaying before his nerves actually went. So Brook has a freaking story.
Yeah, definitely not how I would like to discover how my devil fruit worked.
Yeah. But Brook comes in handy too. Like when he can like leave his soul and like go through walls and whatnot. Like we need Brooks.
Yeah. As he goes on through this manga, like he's proved he's a member of the crew above and beyond, just like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But also in this arc, as kind of previously mentioned, we have scenes where Nami is licked by, Robin is licked by Absalom, and Nami is almost is assaulted, but not as far as could have been shown assaulted in the shower while she's naked and completely unable to help herself.
Yeah, that was nowhere near the anime one.
Yeah, where she's also then put into a dress and drugged and forced into a marriage that is almost performed at the end of here by Absalom. So, like, what are our thoughts on the molestation stuff, on Absalom, his character, and how it's portrayed?
I mean, I think it's hilarious. Well, I think his character he's just funny looking, and he's ugly, which makes it fun. But in the anime, like they did do the wedding scene and him trying to kiss her, and she's just like dodging it pretty much. So I didn't have the shock factor of like the showers thing that you just said with the manga, but I feel like in the anime they did it more fun like, because when someone like licks you in an anime, it wasn't like Absalom. Yes, it was a little bit more like innuendo, but usually it's just them being weird, not like sexual, but in this case Absalom was trying to find a wifey. But I didn't have any red flags, but once again, I guess I'm just unsensitive to this, but I didn't see anything wrong with it. Granted, in real life, no one should be touching you without your consent. Absolutely not. But in an anime, it's funny, like, he's trying, they did it really well with the fake, like it just felt like a staged wedding. You could tell Nami didn't want it, and like she was being a jerk to him, so it was almost comedic in the anime. But yeah, don't let someone touch you without your permission.
Yes. I will say on that part, I will disagree, however, on how this is portrayed, especially manga wise. Yeah, they can get away with a little more. I mean, this is once again a series targeted at teenage boys. So, they see attractive women characters. They want to see them in situations. And I get it. But there's a difference between fan service and something like this, where it is utilized for fan service and then turned into something twisted. But once again, there's no outright, actual sexual assault or anything other than inappropriate touching.
So in this shower scene, like because like I said, I didn't read that manga. In the anime, it's just like her it's alluded to being drugs, but she passed out and she woke up in a wedding dress and said no to a marriage. But in the manga, like how did this shower scene go?
She kind of pressed up against the wall a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I may have even done that in the anime too.
Did they? I'm gonna go rewatch it.
Screenshots earlier
Really?
It's
I
like,
don't remember that. I remember the wedding scene, but let's see.
maybe you blocked it out because you didn't want to remember.
Maybe I was so traumatized by that and so disgusting, so disgusted because of women's have rights that I blocked it
Yes.
off.
It's one of those things. It's meant to be uncomfortable. And yeah, but I don't know if you need that to set up your villain that way. It's a little extra raunchy in that sense, because given age of characters and how they're drawn and stuff like that. So I'm a little upset about stuff like that. Not to the point of like, let's ban and burn this manga to the ground. Oda's a hack. Like it's just like a little constructive criticism. Yet you could have made him a creep without making him a super creep.
Right. Well, especially because my friend 9-year-old daughter is watching One Piece right now, so you definitely don't want a 9-year-old, or really anyone watching that.
Yeah.
Is this the Invisible Man thing?
Yes.
I think I remember a little bit.
Yeah, and as part of his shtick, as kind of an invisible man / Frankenstein's monster kind of situation, he himself is quite hideous and kind of a almost chimera in appearance as well, and it is looking for a wife. Now that is comical on its own. If you had kept that, because you've got Lola as well, Lola being like very unconventionally drawn compared to other Oda women characters, and constantly being turned down for her requests of marriage, and the contrast between the two of them, her falling for him not wanting anything to do with her, there is some comedy there. It's just when we get to what he does to Robin and Nami, I get a little icked out, shall we say.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. Yeah, I completely blocked this off. She be naked and he grabs her and puts her against the wall. I'm watching it right now. That not okay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we established that.
Yeah. That is quite bold.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of surprising too, because if I remember correctly, you don't see much of this from Oda. Like as far
Not
as
like
like no, like you get fan service with
that's completely different.
Yeah, but this is actually like thing. Oh, and forget, and Usopp runs in and bows. It's like saying when he sees her. That's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to add to that before we move on?
Nope. That's not okay. Don't do that, everyone.
There you go. So in this arc, we have a lot of name drops and a lot of callbacks and eventual call forwards to things that will happen later on. In your opinion, does having all these things make Oda a better writer than some, given his ability to, compile all these things back together in a story?
Yeah, I don't understand, because this is years of his work. And for him to be able to like connect and foreshadow, like Laboon, we could have we didn't even need that scene. But the fact that he literally like that showed the crew with Laboon coming back, and now we have an even more emotional connection. And like we're cheering for the crew even more to like go around so Brooks can go. Like there's nothing I want more than Brooks and Laboon to get connected again.
Yes.
Like and I'm sure it will happen. Oda's not going to leave us hanging because he's so good.
I'm looking forward to that as well. I do trust he'll do that. And I think I really appreciate when writers do stuff like this, because some of my favorite stories are told over a long time in different media and what have you. And there are callbacks to things that happened before. Like I love in comics whenever a villain shows up and it'll have a little note at the bottom, this character last fought Spider-Man in Marvel Team Up on the 99 or whatever. And that's fun because you've got a shared universe there. There are repercussions for what happened before. Why are you coming after this hero or something like that? Because of what happened before. And then with Oda, you've got things like he name drops Boa Hancock in this arc. He name drops Kaido and Big Mom, both of whom, by the way, will not make physical appearances until hundreds of chapters from now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also got stuff like, the sword that Zoro gets from after defeating Ryuma. That's going to come up in the Punk Hazard arc way away from now. We've got, Blackbeard being brought up again as someone who's going to become like a new warlord of the sea. It's just a lot of fun to me. And the entire character of Lola herself, like she could just have been a one-off character.
Mm-hmm.
But it sets up for things as we get towards Big Mom that we don't have as much of an appreciation for if they're not built up now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, well, just that, but like just the ace foreshadowing though, like really,
Yes.
it's
Like
crazy.
the burning. It's like, well, Fever cards show you where people are. The Aces is on fire. Should I be worried?
Right.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it just shows a lot of tender loving care because it's obvious Oda from chapter 1 never had everything written out. But as time goes on, as he was making up more ideas, it's clear he started plotting things out and saying, okay, I'm going to introduce this character here that's going to build up things over there. And as a continuity nut, I love that because it shows me you care enough about your material not to just write things week to week and hope for the best, which those stories do work well in other ways. But I appreciate stories like this far more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
All right.
no, it's great. I just people. I mean, I feel the same way with the Harry Potter series. Like how people can be so dang creative and have so many thoughts, and they work.
Yes.
And then I'm always curious, what are the thoughts you didn't write down, like that didn't make the cut?
Right. Because you know there's more.
Yes, and we may never know. And I think that's kind of in itself thrilling to think about, like how someone can be so talented.
Yeah.
And he's young.
Uh-huh.
So that means we don't have to worry about him dying. We've lost many a manga and anime to deaths and sickness. So let's all take a moment and pray for Oda's health.
If we were under the old Shonen Jump regime, I'd be a lot more worried. But since they're being very more thoughtful and better about how they're handling their mangaka after a certain point in time, they're letting him rest whenever he wants to rest for a whole week and beyond so that he doesn't wear himself out. And I appreciated that immensely because I want him to finish the story well. I don't want him to feel like it's an obligation.
Remember when we had eye surgery and we were all like holding our breath, like, please recover well, Oda, please recover well.
Yeah, that felt forever.
It did.
Yeah. All right. Well, previously mentioned is Usopp. And Usopp, while fighting Perona, we find out that one of her special abilities is that she can make people kind of depressed with her devil fruit. But that can be countered if that person's opinion of themselves is just so negative and down in the dumps to begin with, as we see Usopp illustrate. So do you think this is done just for the sake of a gag, or like was Oda doing something more with like Usopp's character in this?
I don't know if he was doing more. Like I said, this arc is kind of a blur, so I vaguely remember the banter between them, but I don't know if I would go. I'm sure there's a deeper meaning because Oda is just fantastic, kind of like a don't think so lowly of yourself. But to me, I think that was just more comedic.
Yeah, I think it's mostly for the sake of a gag. It's kind of like weaponized
incompetence.
Yeah, weaponized depression, self-hatred, stuff like that. For the sake of any other person would have lost to Perona in that situation because of how her devil fruit works. But Usopp is like the perfect counter to it. But at the same time, I think it fits Usopp's character to look at himself that way because that's his whole, a boy who cried wolf scenarios. Like he wants to be seen as something else, but he also knows in his heart of hearts that he's not really that great. He's one of the weakest members of the crew, if not the weakest. So he's very down on himself. So I think that, and we just got to the whole arc where, Soga King mysteriously disappeared and Usopp came back in his place. And that was this whole, with the going merry, going down, not feeling appreciated in that regard. So I think there's something there. I don't think it's the biggest character building moment in the world, but I do still think it's fairly funny.
Yeah, I liked her. And even like, granted, this is like way back, but she even makes an appearance coming back. And like we didn't need to have her, but then we still got excited whenever we see her in future episodes. It's just fun. Oh,
most definitely. So, like also mentioned here, we have the character of Kumo. Now, I will spoil some things. Like you said, you're okay. So if you have not caught up to this point,
I'm okay.
In the manga and anime, this is your warning. Kuma shows up and he's this very intimidating figure, and we see him in action here. What do you think of that so far? And then I'll go into what I have to say.
We still don't know whose side he's on. So Kuma is still a mystery at this point. This isn't the first time they've seen him though, right? This is like the second, I think.
He showed up in one of the earlier arcs very briefly.
Yeah. So
I think this is the first time the crew has met him.
But yeah, at this point, we know nothing about him, but we assume he's not for us.
Okay. So as small as possible spoilers.
Just go ahead and do it.
We know whose side he's on. He's on Dragon's side.
Well, yeah, I knew that one.
Okay. So, and as a result of that, it's because of how he was mistreated as a child by the world government. His entire people were wiped out. His dad tried to save him, didn't make it. The woman he was kind of pseudo in love with there didn't really make it either. And he was in talks with Vegapunk, who was working with the world government doing his own stuff. And he agreed to the Pacifista program, which we'll eventually see later on. The different Pacifistas are based off of Kuma in that regard and his abilities. But this whole time he's been acting as double agent for Dragon because of what the world government has done against him and his family. And there's a certain other character we'll see as well who is tied to Kuma. And it's kind of like a pseudo daughter. Well, actually, really a daughter, adopted daughter in that sense. And this whole time you think, what is up with this guy? And you see him like messing with Moria because he knows Moria is a huge threat. So by having him challenge the Straw Hats, not only does he potentially get Moria out of the way, but he gives a chance for the Straw Hats to get stronger. Mm-hmm. Then he tests them again here, like, I'm going to kill your captain. Those are my orders. And then Zoro steps in, does what he does. And as part of that, yeah, they're still going to lose, but Kuma leaves them alive. And then later on, we're going to see the whole separation thing happen because you go, well, his orders were to kill him, weren't they? Mm-hmm. And yet suddenly they're all over the world. Yeah, I love Kuma a lot more. I have a bigger appreciation for him now than I did before. Normally, he was just some guy I was like a little curious about maybe. But I see the seeds of that in this arc. You know, I can look back in hindsight, 700, 800 some chapters away and just go, oh man, I really love what Oda's cooking here.
Yeah. You see, that wasn't spoiling. I kind of knew all that already.
They already covered that? His backstory?
I just heard. I hear things.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying. Like, sure. I assumed I was already spoiled.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So.
Like, I don't know the details, but I did hear, like, he was on Dragon's side.
Okay. Who was avoiding those spoilers. So, yeah. Pang, is there anything else you'd like to add about this arc?
That's it.
Wow. So, out of 10, where do you rank this sucker?
2.
2. Ooh. Here I was thinking giving this a 6.5 would be like
ew.
Bad. Yeah. Because there are things I do like here, especially I think my score is increased based off of what has happened in later chapters that I can look back here and go, oh, okay, I see what you were setting up there. I didn't understand it at the time, but I get your score. I get it.
Yeah, I didn't even have a desire to like remind myself of this episode too much before coming. That's how much I was like, Thriller Bark or get this over with.
Wow.
But I wanted to hang out with you. I like you.
Well, thank you, Pang. I do like you as well.
Got you.
So, guys, what do you think? Do you have a better score? Are we scoring it too low? Would you like to fight back against it? Let us know. Facebook, Discord, elsewhere. As well, for our Patreon and Captivate supporters, if you're interested in that, we have a special bonus question for this episode. And that would be, if you had to live on one of the different islands of One Piece, which one would you choose to live on and why? So Pang and I will be debating that in a bit. So that's it for this episode, unless there's anything else you'd like to add, Pang.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you all once more for everything that you do. Pang, do you have a recommendation for the audience?
Recommendation. Let me think. You go first and then I go.
Okay. I'll go ahead. I am continuing through the Assassin's Creed series. I'm on Rogue right now. I'm really enjoying that. So Assassin's Creed Rogue was, a lot of fun. So I'd encourage other people to check that out. How about yourself, Pang?
According to my Crunchyroll, I feel like you should watch Berserk of Gluttony. There you go.
I didn't watch the first 2 episodes. They were fine. I like
it.
I just moved on to other things. Okay. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did enjoy your episode with Andy discussing it.
I like a good underdog coming back on top motif, so it fits the bill. And there's a little bit of a crush going on, so I like the romance.
Oh, of course. Hey, how could you not?
How could I not swoon?
All right. Guys, what about you? Is there anything you'd like us to add for this? Is there something we didn't discuss for the Thriller Bark arc that you really would have liked us to? Let us know. Please, if you get a chance, leave a 5-star review on your podcasting platform of choice. As well, check out our new show in the Anazao Ministries podcasting network of Some Joyful Noises, where there is no host. It's just a bunch of people talking about music, some Christian, some secular, and what it means to them. We'll shout out some supporters. Thank you, Russell Gentry, Justin Vaughn, Annette Knoll, and Jeannie Mattingly. You guys are the best. We really appreciate everything you do and helping to keep the lights on here. But remember, we're all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
Hi, my name is TJ. I'm here to tell you about the Systematic Geekology shop. That's where we post all of our merch. It is hosted on Creator Spring, and we have a ton of really cool merch, mostly clothing. We have hats, extra soft t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies, and more. Our hosts wear them all the time. It's actually super comfy. We have glassware, mugs, which everybody loves a good mug. Fill out your cupboard. Get rid of some old ones, which is the part that I never do. That's why I have too many cups. We have cloth bags, posters, and it's really stuff. We like to put our icons on there. We like to put quotes, things we come up with, and it's cool. It's a cool way, and a lot of it is pretty subtle too, to show support for one of your favorite shows. And my personal favorite is actually our SG Dad Cap, which I haven't been reluctant to buy it because now I have to wear hats at work, and then I get tired of wearing hats. But it's really cool. It's really understated. It is our logo right here, and then it says Systematic Geekology on the back. It's great. It's a really good hat. We have a few of them floating around. Check it out. And if we could all just rock the SG Dad Cap in public, I think that'd be pretty sweet.
Hello, friends. If you like Systematic Ecology, then there's a host of other podcasts in our network that we think you will like just as much. And so we're part of the Anazao Ministry Podcast Network, and we hope that you can hop over and subscribe with all the podcasts that are in our network. Like, for instance, The Homily, which is, Pastor Will Rose's sermon here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. You have another podcast called The Whole Church Podcast, the OG, the originals, the beginner of it all. Yes, Joshua Noel and TJ working for unity among the church and having great conversations with the wide spectrum of those who are involved in Christian ministry and the church. You have My Seminary Life by Brandon Knight, who's discussing what he's learning in seminary, he is learning his theological studies and bringing to the surface those big things that we're wrestling with and thinking through theologically in the church and beyond. There's the Let Nothing Move You podcast from Christian Ashely, who is walking through the Bible in a very Bible study type fashion and walking through the biblical narrative. You have Dummy for Theology. I don't think Joshua is a dummy, but hey, he's going to lift up theological themes that he's thinking about and wrestling with. And maybe there's not a lot of answers, but there's definitely a lot of great questions out there that he's lifting up with some great theologians across the whole spectrum of Christianity. And then there's the Bible After Hours. Man, if you like to get risky, if you like to get controversial, there's this foul-mouthed preacher who goes through the Bible from a more progressive point of view, challenging the status quo of the modern church. Yeah, you don't want any kids around with that podcast. And then you have the Clydes, one of my favorite couples that I like to listen to. One of the hosts here on Systematic Ecology, Taylor and Elizabeth Clyde, go through weekly discussions and kind of a devotional, conversational method of what's going on in their lives, where they see God moving in their lives, and what God is up to in the world. So those are the podcasts, a part of the AMP network. Subscribe, follow. We hope you can be a part of all that great network with the wonderful podcasts at AMP.